Hey guys, welcome back. This is episode 4 of our top producer video series. I have with us a top producer in our Greenville market, Greenville, South Carolina, named Haro Setian. He's at Keller Williams, but has his own group of agents. Haro's a stud. I've had a lot of respect for him since I've known him for the last 4 or 5 years, and really seen him grow and really start at a high level of production. It's been before I've known you that you've been a high level producer, Haro, so I don't want to claim any credit or anything like that, but just watching what you do with agents has caught my eye for a lot of years. And so, if you don't mind, could you just introduce yourself and give us a little background on you?
Yeah, my name is Haro. Grew up in Boston. Um, Came down here for college to Greenville, South Carolina, and graduated from Clemson. Actually, I have 2 degrees from there. Married for be 14 years in September. Got 3 kids, 12, 10, and 7. Been in real estate since May of '09, so this is 11 years right here. And got in and what was probably the worst housing market in all of our lives. Um, and Started as a buyer's agent on a team and then went to being a solo agent for a short period, and then started hiring and built our team and hit the high point in sales in 2017. We sold 478 houses, 96 million in volume. And then we made some adjustments and are actually more efficient and leaner now, making more money. And we'll close about 300 deals this year and about probably 70 to 75 million in production by the end of the year. Also, an owner in a few brokerages in South Carolina, one in Myrtle Beach and one in here in Greenville, and have lots of investment properties and just always looking for ways. I speak and looking for ways to help more people and be a good dad and good father and good husband and all that. So I don't want to ramble anymore.
Oh,
That's the
awesome,
story.
man.
That's
So,
the
so I
story.
appreciate that. And guys, for you watching, that one of the reasons that I want guys like Haro on here doing this is because you just mentioned it in your intro. When you started as a buyer's agent, went to an individual agent, then built a team, and now you're a broker owner of apparently multiple franchises. I didn't even know you were in Myrtle Beach. So that guys is the reason I want people like Haro on here with us, because the advice that you're going to get from somebody like him is going to be something that you can take and apply to your careers. As you can tell, it's worked well for Haro. So obviously, he's not going to give us all of his secrets, but maybe we can pick his
I don't
brain
know,
for a
man.
minute.
If you ask the question, I'll probably answer it. So
I mean, I appreciate that. So you mentioned it a second ago, and I wasn't planning on going this direction, but you said you hit a high point in 17 with sales, but then made some adjustments, which to me, I take the perspective of you're a business owner and you maybe cut some overhead and maybe you scaled back your sales, but your profitability increased. Can you talk us through what your thought process was there?
yeah, that's a really short version of it, and it sounds much cleaner than the reality of it was.
Sure.
We grew. We had 33 people on the team during the period of 2016 to 2017. I had actually almost pretty much stepped entirely out of the company, and someone else was managing it, and I was doing the work to launch our brokerage in Greenville, which is a Keller Williams franchise. And if you know anything about how that process works, Keller Williams doesn't sell you franchises, they award franchises, and you got to jump through a bunch of hoops to get there. And I naively thought, yeah, we'll get this done in 6 months. And it took me closer to 18 or 20 months. Uh, and I say me, there were several other people involved, and the group of us, it just took time. So when I stepped back into the company, there were some personnel changes that we made first, but then we realized the issues were pretty deep. And this is the first company I've ever built, so I'm not versed in turnarounds. And it wasn't that it was a turnaround per se. Like, we were profitable and selling lots of houses and had some good people, but then we also had some really inefficient systems. We were 75% buyer business, 25% seller business, which really takes a hit on profitability, and it's just not where we wanted to be from a balance standpoint. Um, and there was a bunch of underlying issues. So I just kind of fumbled my way. I hired 3 coaches, and like, how do you make sense of A, what's going on, and then B, make it right? And so there were some good moves we made through that. Lots of prayer, lots of counsel seeking, um, Some people we got out of business with, some people decided to leave, and then we culled it down. We actually have 16 people now on the team. And 2017 we did 96 million and sold 478 houses. Then 18, we it was like 72 million and 360 houses. And we actually lost money in 2018, which is an interesting story to tell. Most people don't talk about profitability in our business. They just talk about their volume. And yeah, we sold a lot of houses, 360 of them, 72 million, but the company actually lost money. And part of the reason for that was when I decided to make some of the changes we made, we exited business with several salespeople, but I purposely didn't cut operations and management in order to keep that stability going. And then in 2019, we were going to rebuild, and we had built really fast in the 2014, 15, 16 and scaled up really fast. And we just weren't able to do that the same way. And there were some things we wanted to do. So anyway, in 2019, we just made some hard decisions. We made a lot of the budget cuts that we probably should have made in 2018, and then some more people cuts in 2019 to get it into a model that matched best practices for the industry, which is by the end of the year, we were in a good place. So interestingly, in Q1 of this year, and last year we were profitable, so we turned the profit situation around from 18 to 19, sold 260 houses last year, something like that. With the changes that we made, Q1 of this year, we actually doubled our profits from all of last year in the first quarter. Yeah, and by the end of Q2, we'll be at 4x all of last year's profits halfway through the year.
So you hit on a couple of things there. I want to take some time to explore if you don't mind. But one of the things that I'm taking away from this, and I'm going to try to apply this, your concept, to an individual agent. And what you said was you fumbled your way through. Right. So you built this team and then you fumbled your way through making it profitable in essence. Right. And what I'm taking from that is action is more important than having the plan to fully defined first. Right. I mean, a lot of times your plan is going to develop in front of you while you're in the process of doing it. Like if I decide that I want to go market for listings and I start calling, whoever, circle prospecting, I go start calling in a radius around a house that I've sold. I might not have the script developed, but the fact that I'm calling and trying is going to lead me to perfecting the script down the road. But if I spend 6 months trying to develop the script and the plan prior to taking action, I've missed all of the opportunity. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So you made some tough cuts. You made some decisions that stink for any business owner, but how have the agents that are on your team benefited from that?
We've got 3 agents on our team that are in their 7th year with us. And then, so that's 3 buyer's agents. Then we have a showing agent, and we have another buyer agent that's been with us about 1.5 years now. They're great people. I'm thankful to have them here. How have the changes helped them? I mean, we've just lessened drama in the company. We're also open books, so it's really hard to see us over the last couple of years losing money and bouncing around that profit line. So that no one ever said it, but I know it exuded stress in the system, and it also exuded stress on me, which then made me kind of put my finger on them for more production, even though that was production that my goal and their goal may not have matched. And so that creates friction. Like when I'm trying to push for a number that they're not committed to because they're committed to their number, and I'm trying to push for a number, it's so that wasn't working. So we're just way more aligned right now. And one of the things we did over the last 2 years was got really clear on what our core values were. And now we talk about those, we recognize those in people, we hire to that, we'll actually fire by that if someone's not a core values match for the company. And then we tried to get really clear on if people are in the right seats on the bus for who they are. Like, do they, we call it GWC. Do they get it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity to do it? Anyway, those are some of the foundational pieces that have helped us manage this turnaround. And we're just a much, much better place, much healthier company. I actually, I've been out of taking listings from end of 2014 to end of 2019. So 5 years. I had taken maybe 4 listings in a 5-year period. And then at the end of last year, I decided, you know what, I'm going to jump back into this. And it has been a blast, man. I've had so much fun this year. I just love to win. I'm competitive, and being out of listings was great, but it takes a hit on profits. So I'm making more money than I was making before, so that's helpful. I'm also back in touch with our systems in a really granular way. It's like getting my fingers in the dirt and tuning and tweaking things, as well as those touches with clients, which I'm excellent at that. That's what built our business. And so it's been a lot of fun, and I don't know that I'll let go of it as easily as I did last time.
I've noticed that myself because in my role, I'm a non-producing manager in my role, and what that does when I'm in non-producing, it allows me to work on the business rather than in it. But the longer I'm out, the more I lose touch with the pain points that a loan officer actually deals with going through the file flow. And so every once in a while, we'll get my hands dirty again and kind of get back into it for that purpose, just so you can identify where the holes that need to be filled are, or where the friction points that need to be smoothed over are. And so that makes sense to me, and I hope it makes sense to the people watching. But okay, so then let's talk about if you're just an agent, you're in Greenville or you're in Columbia where I am, and you're I don't know, you've been in it for a couple of years, but you haven't performed to the level that you want or you think you can have the capacity to do to steal your term. So they get it, they want it, they have the capacity, they're just not quite getting there. What advice do you have for an agent in that book to go out there and say, all right, I need to grow my business. What's my first step?
They get it, they want it, and they have the capacity. And this is a new agent?
Yeah, I mean, new or somebody who's maybe just underperforming, not performing to what they feel their own expectations, what their own potential is.
Yeah, gosh, get a coach. Make sure someone's there to hold you accountable and be a guide. Get clear on where you want to be. Like, have written goals and look at them every day. Have them broken down into not only annual but quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily. What do you need to accomplish?
Okay, so let's hit on that real quick. So you've got goals. So I'm a new agent and I want to make $100,000 or $200,000. How do you break down what your monthly, weekly, daily goals are? What kind of goals are you setting for yourself?
Yeah, so $100,000, you got to ask yourself, okay, first of all, what do I need to generate? Like, what's my average commission in my area? If you have enough data for yourself, you could say, what's my average commission for myself? And then you got to divide that by the 100,000. You probably need to, now you got to ask yourself, is the 100,000 pre-taxes or after taxes? And is that pre-splits with your brokerage or after splits with your brokerage? So if both of those things are the case, actually to net 100, you might need to make 200.
Okay.
I need to generate $200,000 in commissions because for me, 30% is my assumption for taxes. So if I make $200,000 in commissions, then it's minus 70 roughly, or 65. So it's really 135,000 that I'm going to get from the brokerage. And then obviously take some expenses out of that, which I shouldn't have that many if I'm just doing 135,000. That's pretty a solo shop, maybe one assistant. And then take your expenses out, and then you got to multiply that by 0.7, and now you're probably down to pretty close to $100,000 at that point.
Okay, so then in your model, in order for me to net 100, I need to make 2. And so what I'm trying to get to is what kind of prospecting or outbound solicitations or lead generation?
Yeah, no. So then you take the 200,000 and say, okay, 200,000. Let's say my average commission is, we're in South Carolina, so let's say 6,000. What's that? I don't have to pull out my calculator.
I didn't mean to make you do math, man. I apologize.
It's okay, man. I like math. It's my favorite. If you don't know math, you're crazy. So that's 33.3 deals. So let's call it that 34. Okay. So then you got to say, okay, that divided by 12, that's effectively I got to close 3 deals every month.
Yep.
So 3 deals every month. Now you got to ask yourself, okay, how many clients do I need to sign in order to close 3 deals a month? And what we have found is about a 75% conversion ratio from signing to closed. Okay. So 30.
Is that on listings and buyers?
Yeah, roughly. 36 divided by 0.75 is 48. So I have to sign 4 clients a month. And then what we found is in order to have those, you're going to close about 75% of your appointments to a client. So 48 divided by 0.75 again is 64 divided by 12. I need to be having 6 appointments every single month with buyers and sellers, where
Okay.
I am asking them to sign an agreement at the end of it. Not a showing, not a how are you doing, not a shoot the bull for 30 minutes, don't talk about any paperwork, but a conversation about signing an agreement to work together. I guess that's not the whole conversation. This conversation is
Sure.
understanding what their needs are and making sure that your services meet their needs, and then asking them to sign an agreement. But they're not going to sign an agreement if it's not anything for them. So 6 appointments a month, on average, we find that it takes someone that's new in the business 30 to 40 conversations to generate 1 appointment. So if you want 6 appointments a month, 6 times 40, you have 248 conversations throughout the month. If you work 5 days a week and there's 4 weeks, that's 20. So a person needs to have 12 conversations every day in order to close 36 a year.
12 conversations a day. And those can come from calling sphere of influence, calling an internet lead, calling.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're going to call sphere of influence, you can start going, it's going to be, your ratio of conversations to appointments is going to be a little bit lower. If you're calling internet leads, it's going to take more work. So you're going to have to test different sources to figure out where your sweet spot is. I mean,
So
you could do open houses and market the heck out of them, and that could turn into 10 conversations on a Saturday. So you've got 40 is pretty. If you do 40 per appointment, so the 12 a day that I was talking about, 5 days a week,
Yep.
that's a pretty good. Most people, as long as they're not saying stupid stuff, like go watch all the YouTube videos on scripts and dialogues, or take good classes around this, or get with someone who knows what they're doing, so that you're saying the right things and then you say it in the right number of people. But it's the consistency that gets people. Like, everybody can call 12 people one day, but I'm talking about 12 people every day, without fail, 5 days a week, 4 weeks a month, all year long, to get to 36. And that's where people fail. And the reason, here's the thing, most people get into real estate, and if you ask them, okay, why are you getting into real estate? They're like, well, I want to make a lot of money. Great. Or I want to be my own boss. Great. I want to set my own schedule. Great. Well, unfortunately, being your own boss, most of us had a boss because we weren't good at being our own boss. And then when we don't have a boss, we'd actually fire ourselves if we were our boss.
It's funny. I'm laughing, but that's so true. You're absolutely right about that.
So, and then they're like, oh, I'm going to make my own schedule. No, you don't get to make your own schedule. You know, my first year in real estate, May 2009 to May 2010, I sold 33 houses in the worst real estate market that any of us know as a buyer's agent on a team. And people would ask me, man, how'd you do it? I was like, it's funny. I showed up every day at 8. I worked till 6 or 7. I did that on Saturdays. And then on Sundays, I'd call for 2 hours during what I called magic hours, 6 to 8 p.m. on Sunday nights. Everybody's home. They're relaxed. Best time to have a conversation. And that's what I did consistently. Now, of course, I took a Saturday off here and there, but that was my consistent habit all year long. So it's not about anything else but following a schedule. But unfortunately, most people get into real estate with the delusion that I can make a lot of money and like just do what I want when I want.
It's funny. I'm watching. I don't know if you're a basketball fan or not, but I grew up a huge Michael Jordan fan, and I'm watching the Last Dance series as it plays on ESPN. And one of the things that caught my ear last night as I was watching, I think episode 8, was Michael said, winning has a price.
Yep.
And everybody looks at Michael Jordan and sees, hey, 6 championships, best player ever, greatest athlete of all time, but they don't understand the work that went into becoming that. And nobody sees that because all they see is the shine and the glory. But the grind is what people miss. And so you saying the consistency of the marketing, consistency of the effort, showing up at 8, leaving at 6, doing that for what you said was an entire year. Now, my assumption is that gets easier over time as you develop skills and are able to increase your conversion ratios. But you tell me, correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, it does. And, you got the market that you're given too, right? So like up till March of this year, we're dealing with a market where, I mean, everybody's got a license. I tell a joke about this. Like, I got pulled over the other day, Brian, and officer comes up to my car. I pull over my nice red Audi, and he comes up to the car and he's like, hey, you know why you're pulled over? Yes, officer, I was going too fast. And He says, okay, I'm going to need to see your registration, your driver's license, and your real estate license. And I look at him, I'm like, my real estate license? What do you mean? He's like, well, what we found is not everyone has a driver's license.
That was true in the pre-crash market, and it seems to be true again, right?
Yeah. So the thing is, yes, you get better, your skills get better. And, in the market right now, I mean, I'm competing against my past clients. And my past clients are in the business now. I've got probably 15 people that bought or sold houses with us over the last 6-7 years that are now in real estate, several of them in my brokerage. And I mean, I'm happy to help them, of course. And it's just real. It's just real that they're in the business now.
It's an interesting dynamic to have to deal with. That's not that in the lending industry. It's not as much of that, but that would be tough. Seeing people that you helped that you're now competing with. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So, all right. So then we broke it down, right? And that seems to be a fairly common theme amongst either A, high producers, or B, coaches. And you mentioned getting a coach. At what point in your real estate career do you think it's beneficial to entertain the option of hiring a coach?
Immediately.
So the pushback you're going to get is, well, I don't have any money. How can I afford to do that?
That's why you should get a coach.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you at all. And
you don't have any money because of choices you've made to get you to that point. And what you're missing is someone to talk to your brain and help you discover a new way to live and a new way to think. And you need a coach because you don't have money. That's the exact reason you need a coach. So when I got in as a brand new buyer's agent, I walked into the business with debt. As 14 months later, I was on my own. I actually got fired by the agent whose team I was on.
After
which I love him.
33 houses, you got fired?
I love him and I respect him. It's a long story, and I don't even know that I understand the full story. It's okay. Like I respect him tremendously, and I'm very thankful to have worked for him. It set a fantastic foundation, and we're friends today, and it's good. But that was what happened. And then I'm on my own, and so this is like September of 2010. I'm on my own. I don't know anything about taking a listing. I don't know anything about any of the back-end administrative work. All I know is how to work buyers from internet leads primarily. But I don't have my own internet system, and it's 2010. It was actually less houses sold in 2010 than in 2009 in the Greenville MLS. And 2011 was the absolute bottom of number of houses sold. So I don't know how to do anything, and I'm now a solo agent, and the 6 deals I closed from August 2010 to December 2010 were all leads from the team. So the team still got its split. Plus I'm I'm like making nothing. I looked down at my finances, November of 2010, and we're $50,000 in non-mortgage debt. And the next month I hired a coach and my first assistant.
Okay.
50 grand in debt. I was putting everything on credit cards. I knew one of the things that I did that I think helped me is I had no back door out of this business. I had nothing else to fall back on. I had no backup option. I had no plan that if this doesn't work out, I'll do X. No, this is going to work. And we're going to make this work. Now, I came from a lot of confidence in sales because of my previous career. So that was true for me. And I was willing to place the bet on myself. But I hired a coach. And I just worked out a payment plan with them that worked for my needs. Both my coach and my assistant, man, we had creative financing for how I was going to pay both of them. And then the following year, in 2011, I sold 36 houses, paid off all $50,000 in debt, and have never looked back.
So how long were you an individual agent before you started building your team?
Well, like 3 months, because I hired my first part-time assistant in December of 2010. So and then that lasted 4 months with her. And then I hired a part-time assistant that worked from home, and that was all of 2011. It was the beginning of 2012 where I hired my first full-time assistant.
So what duties did your part-time assistants perform? What were their tasks?
Transaction management, returning calls, primarily transaction management, entering listings, whatever my version of building a database was back then. I mean, it was so crappy. We just did such a bad job.
But so in essence, what you did and if you're watching the series, you know we talked about this a couple weeks ago. You created a chart, or you created a list of things that you needed to do that were income generating versus what somebody else could do that is income servicing. So something similar to that, like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yep.
you need to free my time up to go out and sell more houses. I can do that if you do these things. And whatever a realtor that's watching this decides those things are, it's going to be things like transaction management, setting up
Yep.
scheduling, that kind of stuff. Okay. All right. What other advice do you have for anybody watching?
Make sure to guard the most important relationships in your life, your spouse and your kids. This business, if you let it, is probably not unlike other businesses, but there is a certain thing to this business and the people that attracts. And a lot of us are super competitive and we're achievement driven. And if we're not, and because of the fact that like literally you wake up every morning unemployed, and you got to go find your paycheck, there's a certain amount of, it's easy to not have the right fences and boundaries up. And I would just recommend to people to be super, super purposeful about that time and the investment they make in their spouses and their children. Otherwise, this business can swallow you up, and it's just not worth it to make $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year and lose your marriage, or your kids not know you. So that would be my next piece.
Man, that's awesome. And that rings true when I see people grinding. And it's tough because we encourage grinding and working hard, but you have to have the balance, because you're absolutely right. It's not worth it if you lose your family or anything close to that effect.
No, and then, I mean, you see people justify that crap later, but it's like, if they had to do it over, that wasn't their plan when they started. Oh, I'm going to work really hard in real estate and ignore my wife.
And honestly, the guys and girls that I'm talking to that are at the highest level of achievement have achieved that balance. And so they become very efficient in their days, so that their nights and weekends and whatever time they have available for their family is dedicated to their family. And you almost see an equal level of dedication to the personal side of their lives as there is to the business and work sides of their lives. And I think that I agree with you. That's 100% very, very important. Hey guys, listen, if you want to reach out to Haro, I'm going to include his contact information below, either on the email that I'll send out or on the Facebook video that we're going to post up here soon. But Haro, man, thank you very much for your time, dude. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, man, it's my pleasure. And if anyone on here needs anything, I'm happy to reach out. Follow me on Facebook. Email is haro@theharogroup.com. He'll throw my phone number in there. Love to help.
Awesome, man. Thank you very much.
See you, Brian.